Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and most welcome guests. How many here in this room have ever heard of Maxine? Raise your hands. She's a little old lady, dark glasses, usually has a drink and a cigarette in one hand, and she's very cranky. Tonight's speech, despite the photographic evidence in front of you, is not about Maxine. It's actually about my grandmother, Mary Louise Conrad. Mary Louise Conrad was born March 7th, 1915. She grew up during the Depression. She had 5 siblings besides herself. Her parents were immigrants from Slovakia. So she grew up speaking Czechoslovakian. Her dad was more or less illiterate. And my grandmother, who was good at numbers, eventually helped her dad claim thousands and thousands of dollars of back pay that her dad was owed due to the kind of construction he was in. My grandmother worked during World War II. She was quite literally a bean counter. She worked in a coffee packing plant, and she would pick beans, making sure that they were good beans, and she would put them inside of a bag and then put them on the conveyor belt. This is what she did during World War II. And her office staff wanted her to move into management because she was so good at numbers. But Grandma didn't want that because, doggone it, she really liked that over time. And when she met the man that she eventually married, she did not tell her supervisors that she got married because she knew that if she told them, they would make her quit because married women just did not work back in the 1930s. They had to stay home and they had to take care of their family. And my grandmother was just too independently minded for that. Eventually they moved out to California where they started a family, and they lived in Los Angeles for quite a while, and very, very small one-room apartment. My mom would tell me stories about how she would have to walk a mile. We all hear this. She had to walk a mile just to get to the bus so that she could go to school every day. And my grandma, being a child of the Depression, was very thrifty because she made my mom and my aunt and my uncle walk to school because she saved 15 cents a day by doing it. Now, you got to figure, back in the 1950s, 15 cents a day was pretty significant. So Grandma was really thrifty. And when she ended up buying the house that she had through the end of her life, she got it only because she told her husband, Red, my grandfather, if you don't get this house, I'm divorcing you.
Oh.
She put her foot down. She bought this beautiful 4-bedroom house in Fullerton, California, which, for those of you familiar with the area, now it's a college town. It's actually a pretty nice area. Gorgeous backyard. My grandma loved gardening. And she turned that house into a home. Now, she bought it for $16,000 back in the day. Pretty good investment, I'd say. Grandma was really shrewd with money. She didn't trust banks. She didn't trust doctors. Heck, to be honest with you, she didn't trust anybody outside of her family. That's true. But she could pinch a penny until it screamed. And she did a fabulous job raising or helping to raise myself and my 6 siblings. She was a very integral part of our lives. I remember after my dad left, or actually even before my dad left, Grandma would always show up, and at Christmas time, birthdays, we would cringe, us kids. Because when Grandma would give us the gifts, for Christmas, birthdays, what have you, it was the Grandma gift. You know the feeling. You shake it and you're hoping it's that brand new Battlestar Galactica action figure that you were just dying for and you had written down, and that's what, dear Santa, I want. And no, it was clothes. It was an ugly sweater that I knew I would never wear. It was kangaroo underwear. But you know what? I never wanted for clothes when I grew up. She was always there. She always took care of us. I remember one time I ran out of undershirts. And next day, miraculously, Grandma showed up, and there was a pack of undershirts sitting on my bed. That was just her. She took care of us. She constantly came by. I will never look at lentil soup without thinking of my grandmother. A good Slavic dish. You know, she would make that like every week, and that was her thing. She taught me a lot. When I was in my early 20s, I ended up buying a car with Grandma's assistance. And in order to track it, Grandma purchased this book entirely for that purpose because she had a sense of humor. Well, Matthew, if I'm going to buy this car for you, we're going to keep track of how much you owe me in this little car book. And then she would cackle. My grandma had a lot of fun. She was a lady full of life, and she made it, and she died on April 17, 2015. With our family, all of us, all of my siblings, we dropped everything to be at her bedside. And I was fortunate enough that the week before she passed, my wife and I were down in California, and that's when we realized that she was on her deathbed. And, you know, I raised a red flag with the rest of my siblings. I will be forever eternally grateful that I was still able to talk to my grandmother and to say goodbye to her, because she was still coherent at that point. She was still awake, she was still tracking, and, you know, hearing her say, "Is that you, Matthew?" Or even acknowledging my wife, "No, Sarah Marie, no, I don't want any more water." She knew we were there. That meant the most to me. So I wasn't there when she passed, but I was able to go back for her funeral. And I will always love that dear old lady. She had a saying in Slovakian, "Jedzeme." It means we're going. And she finally left. So she had a good, long life and died surrounded by her family that loved her. So, thank you.